Hey everybody, welcome back. It's another episode of the Spartan Shadows podcast. I'm your host Chris, and I'm joined with one of my other hosts, Emmett. Zach unfortunately could not make it with us tonight, but we are here just to catch up after a little break, a little vacation. I was under the weather for a little bit last week, and it was just a crazy schedule. We figured with it being the off season, why not take a week off and recoup, and that's what we did. So we're back. We've got some updates on, well, really all spectrums of MSU here. So we'll update you on everything news related that we can come up with and get you geared up for the week and hopefully have some fun episodes coming in the next couple weeks. Some different interactive type stuff. But before we get ahead of ourselves, Emmett, how you doing tonight?
Pretty good. Before we start, I also want to say happy belated Mother's Day to all moms out there, especially all Spartan moms. Extra happy belated Mother's Day.
Yes.
Yeah, just kind of a slow week, and obviously with it being Mother's Day, obviously we didn't have an extra day available to record, especially with Chris under the weather. So here we are, a little bit over a week later, sitting back down to talk Michigan State.
Yep. So happy belated Mother's Day to all the moms. The extra family time. I said took a weekend day, which are prime recording days, but that's all right. We got everything back. I got a couple new updated things, so hopefully it makes it a little better production quality for you guys out there in listener land. So we appreciate you hanging in with us, and well, I guess we'll get to it. We want to start out like we have with the most of the recent episodes, the updated athletic director search news. There's really no concrete updates. MSU has begun searching for a replacement candidate for Alan Haller. No for sure list. For those looking at potential candidate ideas, Justin Thin with 24/7 Sports, he did a pretty good comprehensive list of candidates he would like to see. That is a paywalled article. It's on Spartan Tailgate on 24/7 Sports. Definitely worth checking out if you can. So I would go over there and look at that. Corey Linsner of Spartan Wire also put up an article as well for his candidates. Be worth checking out for them. Both of them do some good work. So if you're looking for potential names of people to watch out for, I would definitely check those two out. They have a list in mind, and who knows if that's going to include who MSU goes with, but some pretty talked about candidates there. We did also want to add that this past semester, MSU student athletes had the second highest semester GPA in MSU history, topping last semester. So congratulations to all of the student athletes. Cumulative GPA of 3.4173, second highest behind the fall. Spartan athletes really excelling academically and in the classroom, and that's what you like to hear. So congratulations to all the athletes. Round of applause for them, and kudos because that's a lot of work and dedication, not only to your sport and to your craft, but then having to go and keep up with full class loads. So shout out to them for doing that. Emmett, did you want to add anything to those 2 points?
Also, the news as of this recording, we are recording on May 15th. Tom Izzo and Jen Smith are now officially 4 days into their tenure as the interim athletic directors in replace of Haller. Haller's last day was May 11th, so that is really the only update we have is that now Tom Izzo and Smith are both acting as your ADs for Michigan State right now. And also, as far as the GPA goes, also special shout out to all the tutors, all the people in study taking, getting their athletes and dragging them, whether it's kicking and screaming or on their own accord, taking them to their to study halls and office hours, just making sure everything goes smoothly for the student athletes. Huge shout out to them. Their work is appreciated to make sure our players are eligible to play on Saturdays, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, no matter what the day may be for all the different sports.
Yeah, the academic support staff really does a great job of helping out where they are mostly needed and able to make it easy as possible on the athletes to try to get into a routine. So shout outs to them. Coaches too. The coaching staff I know really for all sports really buckles down on academics. So kudos to them, and that's good to hear. So moving on, we'll get you some football updates because football obviously is the moneymaker and what people often like to hear from. We'll start off with some future or some former Spartans. signing NFL deals. Former Spartan Raekwon Williams actually signed a deal with the Lions, so back with the hometown team. So congratulations to Raekwon. Jordan Turner signed a deal with the Denver Broncos after he was invited to minicamp. Montori Foster signed a deal with the Seahawks after he was invited to minicamp there. He joins former Spartans Kenneth Walker, Cody White, and Ricky White.
Ricky. Yep.
Yeah, yep. So three former Spartans already there. Montori Foster will make a fourth, and then former Spartan Cade McDonald. He signed a deal with the Bengals. So a couple nice deals there for the boys, and hopefully get some good shots in NFL camps to try to make a mark on the roster and earn a spot on that 53 man. Emmett, did you want to add anything on those four?
All of these players, they already had, they join Jonathan Kim, K'Ron Lynch-Adams, Nate Carter, and Luke Newman for Spartans in the NFL from this year's cycle. These guys were all signed after impressing during rookie minicamps. Raekwon Williams was one of those veterans that gets invited, usually a local veteran from a college nearby or hometown, which was the case for Raekwon with him being from MSU. So there you saw those guys. Cade McDonald, that name sounds unfamiliar, he was a former Spartan receiver before transferring to Miami, Ohio to get a scholarship. High school teammates with Peyton Thorne and Jaden Reed. He and Thorne were in one class. Reed was a class above them. And then as far as Montori Foster goes, that group that he's connecting with, very unique in the terms of Montori Foster's first career touchdown came as a result of a Kenneth Walker flea flicker against Maryland. So unique to see those two back together in the same uniforms. That's really all I got for them, but congrats to all those guys. Huge success for them, and can't wait to see, hopefully, at least one of them between the undrafted free agents and Raekwon. Hopefully one of them can fight their way onto the 53-man, if not the practice squad. Right now they're all in the 90-man roster limits, so you still have 27 to 28 cuts to make, depending on obviously international free agents, stuff like that. But this isn't an NFL podcast. We'll get to MSU.
Yeah, and we'll of course keep you up to date as the training camps and OTAs go on, and let you know who's making the cut or if anybody does unfortunately get cut. But a nice handful of guys hoping to join the Spartan contingent in the current NFL, which is pretty prevalent. So congrats to them, and we're excited to see what kind of work and shot they can put in. Transferring over to recruiting, a couple more former Spartans that had entered the transfer portal out of this past season's team. We've got a few more that have committed and found new homes. Wide receiver Jalen Brown back to his home state of Texas. He committed to UTEP. Offensive lineman Jake Merritt. Shout out Jake, great guy. He found a new home at the University of Buffalo. Going over to UB to hopefully compete for a lot more playing time and a shot at some MAC competition and eating up down there. So congrats to Jake. James Schott also going over to the MAC to Miami of Ohio. He joined former Spartan by Job from a couple seasons ago, a Mel Tucker recruit. They both signed with Miami of Ohio. And then former receiver Austin Clay committed to Bowling Green. He was a Bowling Green commit before MSU was able to flip him. And now he's back to Bowling Green after the transfer portal and after leaving from this past season. So anything to add there, Emmett?
Basically, if you are an Ohio native or like watching MAC games, like watching those random Tuesday, Wednesday night MAC games once November comes along, you're going to see a lot of former names that you recognize.
Gotta love them action.
I was talking to Jake about his commitment, visited there and loved it. One thing that I did ask him about, I'm like, you're aware that Michigan's on the schedule for not this year, but 2026. He is very aware that Michigan and the Big House are on the schedule for 26. That is something he's fired up about already, and he has that date circled on the calendar, and we're still talking about 2025. He still has a whole year of that circled on his calendar, so that's just something he's very excited for. Northville, Michigan native, very excited to be back in his home state. Next year, he'll also be back in his home state when he he plays at Central Michigan. I believe that
Mhm.
game's scheduled for November, October this year.
November 12th, if I believe the exact date is.
Not the Central grad already having it circled on his calendar.
Maybe attending that game. We'll see. It's a Wednesday night though, so we'll see how that goes. But
Oh, not a Wednesday with your schedule.
Wednesday action. When I was in college, I loved it. Now as a little older adult, a little harder to fit into the schedule, but that's all right. We'll see what we can do. Talking current team, Elisha West, brother of current freshman DB Aiden West, he committed as a preferred walk-on. Played in 2 games at Merrimack as a true freshman, but still has 4 seasons of eligibility. So welcome to the team, Elisha. We also picked up another portal commit in Texas Tech safety, Devin Cromwell. He committed recently and will be joining the team for the next year, adding some more strength into the secondary. MSU also recently made the top 5 for linebacking prospect Mason Martin, and they are also competing with Minnesota for Pennsylvania-born Angel Luciano, another linebacking prospect. So a couple of bigger linebacking prospects that they are working on. Hopefully we can get some commitments out of, ideally both, but one of them maybe. Just some notable names that MSU's putting up a good fight for. And then lastly, offensive line target Quinn Bucky. He has announced his commitment date of June 13th. He notably visited with MSU on April 11th of this year. So what you got to add on that, Emmett?
Right, so for Elisha West, I saw a little bit of a stir about, oh, well, we're just adding preferred walk-ons to our brothers. And, well, understand that it's not, you're not landing former Clemson starting safety or something. At the same time, these are defensive backs, and you saw how the defensive back room, everyone saw how that defensive back room got injured last year. A guy with 4 years of eligibility played a little bit in one season of FCS competition. Do we think he's going to make a huge impact in a year or two? Probably not. Do we think he has, but the staff thinks that he has the upside, that he'll be able to make that mark maybe 2-3 years down the road. Additionally, Aiden West, arguably the biggest name defensive commit. Him, Derek Simmons, and DJ White are arguably the 3 biggest names for defensive commitments in the 2025 class. So if you're going to be able to keep one of the top players and the top secondary commit happy, I'm all for it personally. That said, I think Elisha West is a player that can make that positive play on special teams, make that positive play. We saw Avion Gross be the unlikely hero against FAU last season when all the injuries started to strike with Khalil Majid going out, with, I believe, Dylan Tatum got his injury that game too. So once all the players started going out, you saw Avion Gross be the unlikely hero when he was a preferred walk-on brother of a current Spartan. So I'm personally all in favor of the Elisha West commitment. Do I think he will necessarily do a ton outside of maybe providing 2 or 3 crucial plays? Probably not right now, but 2 or 3 crucial plays. Ask Jonathan Smith. It's a game of inches. It's a game of plays. If he can help you not get beat on one play, that's the momentum MSU needs. As far as the Cromwell commitment goes, I'm very excited for it. Do I think he'll be a starter? Maybe, maybe not. I'm personally very high on Justin Denson, and he's a player I see starting or being the crucial off-the-bench piece for this year, and I cannot see justifying putting a 24-year-old over the 19-year-old. But at the same time, this is what the staff sees. But Cromwell primarily played as a free safety for Texas Tech, played over 100 snaps there last year, played 31 snaps as the nickel corner, so has experience in 2 of the positions that Dylan Tatum predominantly occupied during his time at MSU. So that is a good replacement, at least in terms of depth, if not starting. Just a reminder, Dylan Tatum did not start his 1 or 2 games last season. He was behind Angelo Gross. So worst case scenario, he becomes a depth piece. And then as far as the recruitments go, Bucky has NFL bloodlines, and he just announced his top 8. Michigan State made it. Already had his visit to MSU too. It's Michigan State and a bunch of West Coast teams, if I'm not mistaken. So good to see Jonathan Smith keeping that West Coast pipeline alive with him now at MSU as opposed to Oregon State. A lot easier to sell him in your backyard, but he's still making that effort and getting the results of at least being in that conversation. Then linebacker, one of the I would say sneaky needs for this team with Wayne Matthews, Darius Snow, and special team ace Sam Edwards all set to graduate this year. You definitely need to start looking at getting that room restocked again. Obviously, Brady Pretzloff, DJ White, both two big names for the future. Jordan Hall, obviously, still there. He's entering his junior year, so these kids coming on campus will be for Hall's senior year. So this is obviously starting to be a need that sneaks up on MSU if they cannot land 2-3 linebackers this class. I would love to see a 3 linebacker class. It's almost like tight ends in a way. You have a lot of players with seniority on this roster. So seeing Martin or Luciano, or like Chris said, both would be a massive step and something I'm all in favor of. Very high on both Martin and Luciano's film. Think there's a lot to like, a lot of upside, a lot of athleticism, and I think they're two under-the-radar prospects who would be huge victories for MSU.
Absolutely, yeah. And the more, like I said, the more talent you can get in, raises the floor, builds depth at the positions you need depth for. So ideally, all of them would be great, but I won't be greedy. One would be fine. So I like to see the stockpile coming in. So hopefully some good news on the horizon for them. Well, of course, we'll keep you posted as soon as we hear anything, but just some notable news upon the recruiting front that has came out. So transferring over to basketball, Jase Richardson had his debut at the NBA Combine the other day. His measurements were released, and that kind of stirred up a little bit of controversy, I guess. We're not going to touch on it too much, but the most notable change was that the NBA Combine had him listed at 6 foot and some change, not quite 6'1". A little bit of a shock considering MSU had him measured at 6'3", which when you're looking at NBA heights, that few inches may be a little bit of a
6'3"
difference
is
maker.
viable. 6 foot gets a little bit of concern.
Yeah. As of right now, it hasn't seemed to be affecting too much. Most of the mock drafts still have him going anywhere between 10 and 25 roughly, which is kind of where he was slotted, late lottery pick, maybe just outside. So we'll see if that hinders anything. It is something to potentially pay attention to because should he start to fall in mock drafts and get feedback that maybe NBA scouts don't think he's tall enough currently, maybe with that bit of information starting to change and tides change on that, coupled with a nice NIL offer, maybe does that prevail him to come back? I don't know. I would think a very, 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 very slim chance, but
Hey, that said, if he elects to come back, it's very unlikely a 19-year-old is going to grow an inch or two. Usually you're done growing by that point. So you might see him if he comes back, you might be talking 2-3 years unless he goes and averages 20 a game and 10 assists a game and just obliterates all of Cassius Winston's single season assist record, stuff like that.
Which is possible.
It is possible. And especially Jase Richardson is obviously would be the go-to star for Michigan State, no questions asked. But that said, this is all a hypothetical la-la world. Do we necessarily think that's going to happen? Probably not. But if he falls in the mock draft and the NBA contract looks to be on par or a little bit less than the NIL money, maybe you consider it. But personally, I think Jase is going to make if he falls a little, whatever NBA team elects to say screw the measurements is going to be a very happy team.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I had to put a percentage on it, I'd say less of a chance than there was for Trey Augustine and Isaac Howard coming back. But hey, both of them are here, so you never know.
My chance meter went from 0.2% to 0.5%. So yes, It more than doubled, but we're still talking less than a 1% chance in my opinion.
So don't quote us and sit here saying that, hey, they're saying he's going to be back, because very unlikely, but it is of note. You can speculate as to why the measurements are so off. I mean, MSU has been rumored in the past to kind of inflate some of the height statistics. Maybe that's the case of this. I don't know, but maybe we just have tall rulers in East Lansing. I got nothing.
We just have really tall shoes.
Yeah. So
it's cardboard inserts.
Yeah. So just something of note. It could be something. It's probably not. It's just just been there. He did well in all of his shooting drills and everything like that. So nothing, jumping off the charts, making people go, whoa, maybe we shouldn't draft him. So I expect him to be a lottery pick, just like he would be, and I'm assuming to go on and have a pretty decent pro career. But in other basketball news, just two updates on potential transfers or pickups for MSU basketball for next season. We are trending still with a big man out of Britain, an international player, which you don't see MSU target them very often. But we are trending with a center from Britain by the name of Lewis Oberaya. I really hope I pronounced that correctly. 7'2", big wingspan. I believe he's just tall, athletic.
7'7" wingspan, I want to say.
Yeah, raw. He's really raw. He's only been playing basketball a few years, and doing well over in Britain, but it's Britain, so take that with a grain of salt. But high upside prospect and under the right coaching staff, i.e., you think Tom Izzo and company, Saudi Washington especially, you could maybe harness some potential skill for a couple years down the road. So name to watch. I don't know if there's necessarily anything imminent as far as a commitment goes. Didn't necessarily sound like it. There are some hurdles with international players making sure that they can come over. Obviously, you have visas and immigration stuff, and then you have schooling and all that stuff. So multi steps to go before he would be on campus, but just something to be, kind of mindful of. I personally would like to see MSU take a shot at a couple international players just because you're starting to see some of them come over and can be really talented difference makers. Just go look at Illinois' roster if you want to look at that. That's neither here nor there. The other piece of basketball information, MSU did host a point guard on an official visit this past Monday. Miami point guard transfer Vine Ugochukwu, and if I
They just want to
mispronounce
put you through the ringer in these last name pronunciations.
Yeah, he took the week off, and I got extra hard work on the name pronunciations. But Divine
We took the week off to give you time to prepare.
Perfect. Yeah, Divine Ugochukwu was in on his official visit Monday and Tuesday. No official word on how it went. There's no commitments, that have popped up.
Reminder: we are recording this Thursday night, so granted,
Yes.
we're going to get off. We're going to get off this podcast, and 20 minutes later, the commitment's going to drop, whether it's here or any of his other rumored destinations.
Yeah.
But this is how it works for Spartan Shadows.
Yep. As of 11:30 on Thursday night, we have not heard anything on a commitment necessarily looming. I've heard it went well, but there were a couple other schools. I believe USC was one of them, and I can't remember the other one. But there were a couple other schools buying for services. He would probably come in and be more of a backup point guard role, not necessarily coming in being our starter, obviously, with Jeremy Fears here, but would have multiple years of eligibility and be another prospect that I think could develop into a potentially effective point guard. So another name to watch, just potential to fill that last backup point guard spot that I know we've been looking for. So Emmett, did you want to add anything on those two?
Really, the British big, I would say he's probably a redshirt candidate his first year, assuming he heads to MSU. Very likely he redshirts, and this will be more like the Jesse McCulloch redshirt than the Carson Cooper. We're gonna redshirt. Never mind.
Yeah.
That said, I could see him following a very Carson Cooper esque arc. Maybe, especially with Saudi Washington, I feel more confident in his ability to develop like Carson Cooper did last season, as opposed to how Mady Sissoko developed during his time in MSU. Obviously, we saw flashes of him. Aircraft carrier Mady Sissoko will live in our heart. Ramadan Mady Sissoko will live in our heart for his Big Ten gritty performance, his final season. But overall, he is a player that I think would be a great developmental add, especially if MSU has the open slot for him. You might as well see what you can get when that big room, it becomes a scary situation with Carson Cooper leaving. I know Cooper has been the ire of fans for 2 years, but this 2.5 years, really. This last half year, though, really turned it around, averaged nearly 6 points per game, the final 20 or so contests of the season. Definitely a player that he could be primed for a big senior year and leave a Carson Cooper-shaped hole in the program once he graduates. Obviously, we've never seen McCulloch play in an MSU uniform outside of their exhibition games. Going to be a good player to watch in the future, in this year especially. But overall, just the big situation. Getting a developmental candidate, great option when you have no immediate, this is going to be the plan of succession for players we've seen and players that we have a ton of confidence in. Obviously, Cohen Carr is a human highlight reel, but at 6'7", which MSU measurements, he might be 6'5" for all we know. Not necessarily going to cut it when Purdue is finding a 7'7" guy. We're recruiting 7'2" players. Purdue is probably offering a scholarship to a 7'7" guy who hasn't seen the outside of a cave in 14 years. Just how it works. But don't worry, he'll drop 20 on MSU.
Yeah.
So just in basketball where size is dominant, just something to watch. Would not mind seeing a developmental, like I've said like 3 times now, developmental body in the big room, especially with Sadie Washington. I like it. Not hugely overwhelmed by the point guard for Miami Divine. Just very much a player who would be in when Jeremy Fears needs a rest and not a complement to Fears, especially with shooting percentages and tendencies. Not very confident in his ability with Fears. You won't be seeing a Tyson Walker, AJ Hogarth lineup or anything like that, or a Cassius Winston lineup. Just not the best deep ball shooter, which has been, if you watched MSU basketball last year, the entire thing was if this team gets a 3, and frankly, that could have been what ended the season, the team's inability to get that 3 in transition. We all remember those 3 open threes against Auburn before the season ended. So maybe it's just because of that game that I'm a little, I would say, whelmed, not underwhelmed, not overwhelmed, just kind of there. Granted, I say that now, and he's going to come in, average 30% from 3, which way better than his current marks, but 30% from 3 and be a 12-point per game scorer and make me completely eat my words. But
yeah, well, and with the extra eligibility, it may be a project type thing where in a couple years he becomes a more serviceable complement to whether it be Jeremy Fears or another point guard that's brought in.
Or the fear becomes he's another Tum Tum, which we love you, Tum Tum. Big loves for Tum Tum, but
right. Well, and there's possibilities, I guess, and given this coaching staff and its ability to develop talent, sure, take a run at it. But as far as it plays for next year, I would like to see a little bit more scoring off the bench, but we'll see, especially if Jase isn't coming back. But still time, and some of the experts are saying too, just because we would sign Divine potentially does not limit, say, an international player coming in. There's options to shuffle some things around and get another player in too. So we'll see. We're far from over. We'll see how it turns out. But moving over, we got a little bit of hockey news. Isaac Howard and Coach Nightingale are off with Team USA competing in the Men's World Championships. Isaac Howard did have his first assist of the tournament yesterday against Norway in a kind of a crazy game. The USA they were up like 5-1, I think, and then ended up blowing the lead, Norway and tying it. It went to overtime, and then the US came back and won in overtime 6-5. So almost disaster for Team USA, but they pulled it out in the end. They take on Germany next, so that is something to look out for, and hopefully a more points to come for Isaac. But yeah, him and Coach Nighty are off with Team USA. So just the update there. Not a whole lot happening. Team USA's been okay so far. Not necessarily as great as you would think Team USA's been, but there's still a little tournament to go. So there's that. In baseball news, Joseph Dzierwa has been just absolutely killing it still. Some projections have him moving up to as high as potentially a second-round draft pick candidate for this year's MLB draft. Something to watch for. He continues to dominate. I could see teams, taking runs at him, maybe even potentially in the first round, depending on where it fits and what teams need. I mean, lefty pitchers that can perform like he is aren't necessarily as common. Might be worth a shot. You could see him play his way into that first-round conversation. Congrats to Joseph. Senior weekend is also this weekend for baseball, so something to look out for. Did you want to add anything to those, Emmett?
Well, first off, for hockey, I believe this was just announced a couple days before we started recording. Michigan State will be playing a series at Northern Michigan next year, so that should complete the road of out of conference schedule, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe
So
so.
just something to keep an eye on. If you're one of those, UP Spartans, this is your chance.
Yep.
Go up and catch two great teams battle it out. Just something to, I would say, get hyped for. I guarantee you Chris is going to be glued to his TV screen when that game rolls around.
Absolutely. Northern historically is a good hockey program, so that'll be
For
fun to
sure.
watch.
Yeah, and then as far as baseball goes, they are actually, as we're talking right now, they actually have just completed one of their senior weekend games. So congrats to all the Spartan seniors and likely Joseph Dzierwa, because this is likely the completion of his career in terms of regular season as a Spartan. Second round picks do not tend to come back to their programs.
Yep.
And I think he came back with a lot to prove, and he proved it. You're going to see teams pay big money to keep their draft pick when you're 6'8", a lefty pitcher who averaged under 2 ERA. Yes, it's the Big Ten, it's not the SEC, but you don't see those numbers, especially against like Oregon, the number 3 team in the nation. You don't see that and not elect to pay up the big money to make sure you get your draft pick.
Yeah, absolutely. One bit of hockey news I forgot to mention too. Potential MSU prospect, Cayden Lindstrom,
Oh yeah,
was the number
Lindstrom.
4 pick in the NHL draft last year. We've talked a lot about him on this podcast. He made his debut in the WHL playoffs for the Medicine Hat Tigers. He is rehabbed enough to play in the WHL playoffs. Added a goal already. In I believe the conference. They're in the conference finals, I believe. So good to see him healthy enough to play again. He's still looking to be on track to potentially make the jump to the NCAA next year. So
Yeah, worth mentioning, playing in the WHL does not exclude a player from NCAA. WHL is on the same level. It is not any means of signing a professional contract. That means you can't come back to the NCAA like you would with an AHL contract or ECHL, I believe, too, right?
yeah, yep. And so the WHL, OHL, and CHL are the Canadian Hockey League. Sorry, the WHL, the OHL, and the QMJHL are the 3 Canadian hockey leagues. They make up minor league hockey in most of Canada, not like minor as in professional, but amateur hockey, I guess I should say. There previously has been the back and forth with the leagues in whether or not that is considered enough level to be considered a professional because they are paid very smallly. They live with billet families and they have other things that are provided for them. So that is something that was a bit of contention, but with the NIL stuff and the new legislation in the NCAA or NCAA, sorry, that all went away. So now you're seeing this upcoming season is the first season where you're going to see a lot of
Finally, a good
CHL.
NCAA decision. I just want to point
Yeah,
that out.
yeah, absolutely. So you're going to see a lot of CHL prospects making the jump to potentially go play a year in college hockey and then see what comes of it before they join the NHL. MSU is still on track, like I said, with Cayden Lindstrom. It's not official yet, but it's still trending that way. Should he make the jump to college, he will most likely be in East Lansing. As that stands, MSU is slated, I believe, to have 13 NHL draft picks, between 13 and 15 NFL draft or NHL draft picks on their roster next year. So, vast majority of the team is going to be NHL property, and like I said, it's going to be a very talented group of players ascending on MUN. So definitely worth checking out, and we're excited. So congrats to Cayden. I'm glad he's healthy enough after the back injury to start, seeing some game action over in the WHL. This was good news for MSU on the heels of we had a signee, a freshman coming in next year by the name of Tyson Juggernauth. He was a defenseman. He decided to forego college hockey and actually turn pro for next year. He's going to join the Seattle Kraken's minor league affiliate. So he no longer will be coming, but we did add a commitment from a Canucks 5th round pick, I believe, and I forget his name. He's a forward. We balanced that out with another commitment, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So unfortunately, Tyson won't be joining us, but he turned pro, so good luck to him. And Coach Nightingale worked fast and picked up another commitment for a forward target. So a lot of talent coming in, like I said. But that's all we got for hockey. Let's move it on to just a couple of other news and notes from some other sports. Women's golf heading to the NCAA championships again. That is their fourth straight appearance in the NCAA championships. So congrats to women's golf. On the men's side, they reached the regional final this past week in Tallahassee. Unfortunately, as a team, they did not advance, but congratulations to them at least to getting to the NCAA regional finals. That's a big accomplishment. So golf programs are competing on high cylinders and running on high levels there. So congrats to both of them. Nice accomplishments there. Anything you wanted to add on that?
Not really, just congrats to both golf programs. You know, historically, Michigan State golf program is the first thing that comes to mind, obviously,
Yeah.
so golf juggernaut. But yeah, no,
But
on a real note, congratulations to both teams. Huge accomplishments. Obviously, not the money-making sport that your football, your basketball, men's or women's, or necessarily even making the same headlines that gymnastics has had. But regardless, that is still a great accomplishment, and congratulations to them. Straight years for women's golf. Amazing. Just huge accomplishments for the programs, both in the classrooms, as we mentioned at the start of the podcast, and on the field, whatever field it may be for the teams.
yeah, no, absolutely. So just another instance of like Evan said or Emmett said, the non-revenue sports um, really trending up. So can't complain with that. It's nice to see, and yeah, it's they're good, nice news and notes to kind of add in on these podcasts, especially in the slower times of the year. Speaking of that, we should hopefully be getting some more recruiting news and notes for football coming up shortly, as we are heading into the end of May. We are going to be seeing recruiting official visit season pick up. Starting with the last weekend of this month and all throughout June will be the main months where official visits take place. A lot of recruits like to come in as the window opens up for them to be able to do so, try to get some visits in while they're off on summer break in high school. I know a lot of high school recruits like to try to have their commitment wrapped up before the senior year starts. So you'll see a lot of those players coming in for visits. We'll obviously keep you posted on who's coming in and out. There's going to be a big list. I want to say we have something like 20 already in the works for May or for June, I believe. It could be a little bit more, but that changes daily, and a lot of times even throughout June it will change. So we can come in and say, here's the people coming every weekend in June, and then by the second weekend in June we're already amending it because people have changed or committed, decided not to come, decided to come, decided to forego their visit, whatever. So we'll start to see more of that picking up, and we'll try to keep you as posted as we can during all of that because it is a hectic time, but really the best time coming into next football season to where you can start getting kids on campus and making significant sales pitches about your program. So that will be coming up soon. Obviously, summer camp for football will also be starting, and then yeah, we're into the thick of it in the summer. Football kicks off the end of August. Hockey coming in October. Basketball coming in October. So we're getting through the grind slowly but surely.
Yeah, this will be the time when it seems like you're going to be seeing a lot of commitments, a lot of names that Michigan State's trending with, a lot of names that Michigan State is in the top 5 for. You're going to have to ride through the ups and the downs here because this is, especially this year, Jonathan Smith was able to be more active, get more kids on campus. As we mentioned in our podcast with Kenny Jordan, you're going to see a lot. You were able to have a full recruiting cycle with these 2026 kids. So you are going to see a lot more times Michigan State's in that top 3, top 8, top 5. You're going to see the Spartans have their hat on the table for when you're announcing your commitment. So you're going to have to ride the highs and the lows of, yay, this 3-star signed announced his commitment to MSU, and then, okay, maybe this player who's also a 3-star had us on the table but elected to take his talents to, say, Minnesota, Penn State, Wisconsin. Penn State and Wisconsin have been off to extremely hot starts on the recruiting trail, but that also means their roster and scholarship spots are starting to fill up. So hopefully this is when you see Michigan State really be able to land Maybe not the same caliber as kids that those two programs are bringing in, but this is what you're going to need. You're going to need to have the results on the field to be able to have those Penn State recruiting classes. Sure, Wisconsin had a down year last year, but they also, especially with Luke Fickell, they've had an established head coach for longer and are able to sell more. This is only year two. We're entering year two of the Jonathan Smith era. You're going to need more of an established coach in terms of how long Smith has been in East Lansing to really sell these kids. That said, I think June you're going to see hopefully 10, 12 commitments, and all of a sudden you're feeling bad about a 4 or 5 person class. I would say we would all feel a lot better with a 14 to 16 person class by the time football practice starts up in August.
Yep, absolutely. So keep it here. We'll get you names, and I know both of us kind of follow it fairly heavily. I'll try to get my usual pieces out for Spartan Shadows and Spartan Avenue, highlighting who's coming in and some players to watch. Make sure you're checking the websites for those, and yeah, hopefully we'll get some updates on a couple last pieces for the hockey roster to fill out, a couple last pieces for the basketball roster to fill out. We do want to have some interactive episodes with you, the fans, a couple guests hopefully coming on soon as well. So we'll keep you guys in touch on those as well, and hopefully get some fun episodes for everybody to join in, and some stuff for you guys to watch that you'll hopefully like. We appreciate
episode probably coming soon as well.
Yeah, mailbag. We need to do another mailbag. We've been asked about that, and lots of other stuff. So
I believe we did have a question actually from our last podcast or 2 podcasts ago regarding actually a prospect, Salesi Moa, who is the brother of current Spartan linebacker Ice Moa. I believe actual name is Thea Moa, but in graphics and everything, it is said Ice Moa. Salesi is one of the top kids, I believe, 2026 or 20. I want to say a top 100 recruit.
Top 100, I believe.
Yeah, I want to say top. Yeah, he is ranked as the number 44 kid in the 2026 class. He is a player that obviously all the teams are vying for. Obviously, Michigan State had that draw with having his brother. That said, Tennessee and Michigan are also listed as places that he is listed as warm interest. So the update is really there are a ton of teams who are going to compete for a top 50 player. Yep. Hopefully the Spartans will be able to land with the pitch of playing with his brother. Obviously, it appears that Athea has enjoyed his time so far at Michigan State, but that's just one spring practice.
Yeah.
And this is one of those. You might not see Salesi announce his commitment until October, November. When you're one of the top kids in the class, every team will keep a roster spot open for you. Yeah. You're not going to be that 3-star who, I tear an ACL on the field, I might not have that roster spot waiting for me next year. Salesi is a top 50 kid in the class. Any team in the nation is going to want him. So I'm sorry we can't bring positive news of, oh yeah, he's a Spartan. This is going to be a recruitment where I'm not saying he'll sign for the money, but you are going to be seeing extreme amounts of money thrown around when trying to land one of the top kids.
It'll probably be one that goes to the wire regardless. Like, you may see him commit somewhere.
You might see him not having an announcement till December.
Yeah, and even if he has an announcement, checks may clear, presentations may change minds, persuasions, all that sort of stuff. So,
and obviously, if you see Moa go and win the Bednarik Award or something for Michigan State, you would have to feel better about MSU's chances when you were able to say, look what we did to make your brother into this All-American player. Obviously, that might affect the recruitment. You probably still have a full football season to play through before you even see a development in that specific recruitment. Obviously, a blue chip prospect like him has a different timeline than 3 stars, even low 4 stars.
Absolutely.
So that's really our update there. Sorry we don't have anything more positive or concrete. Welcome to the world of especially new age NCAA athletics. No one knows what's going on for recruiting until they're starting their spring practices or summer practices, depending on when they graduate from high school.
Yeah, absolutely. So any news that does come out, though, we'll make sure to update you. That is a big target, obviously, for MSU's next class. So hopefully headways can be made. But yeah, that should do it for us. We thank everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Again, sorry for the little extended break, but we will be back. New episode should be back next week on our normal schedule. Any crazy breaking news, we'll get it to you. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, especially is where we try to keep most of the stuff updated. But all of our socials, and then anything that breaks with crazy stuff, we'll try to get on and do an emergency podcast for. So. Have a question, comment below, like the person did for Moa there. If you have another question, you can always email us to spartanshadowspodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on any of our socials, the podcast socials. We'll try to get any of those answered as we can. And then, like I said, we're going to be doing a mailbag soon. Maybe some trivia, other interactive fun stuff based. So lots of stuff in store, and then some more guests as well. So tune in, follow us. We'll try to update you with anything new that we have going on. In the meantime, we appreciate it. Hope everybody has a great week. Those in Michigan, stay safe with the storms rolling in. I know we're supposed to get some bad thunderstorms. Some of the states probably already got them by this point. I can hear it thundering outside my apartment. So, but stay safe and enjoy the weekend. And most of all, go green.
Go white.